Right, it should be. Should be there. Let's have a quick check.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Yeah, see Facebook. We're there on Facebook. And Twitter. They'll all be out in the garden tonight, won't they? Or going to or watching. I had somebody tweet me today telling me that they can't watch the show tonight because they're watching. They're paid for the stream for that Dons match tonight. SE Dons or whatever it is.
Brilliant.
Fair enough.
That's the audience gone.
Yeah. There's Kev. How are we, Kevin?
Hi, David. All right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate, not too bad. Get rid of that out of the way.
Am I early?
No.
A couple of minutes.
Just finishing.
Yeah.
It's improved the viewers.
Funny thing is, I was actually sitting there. Somebody sent me. Someone sent me a video. I don't know if it was. I don't know if somebody said that they thought they'd seen a Courtney fall over at Wembley, so they sent me a picture of something on Wembley when Cray were playing Chelsea, but it weren't. It wasn't her, but it was quite funny.
What, when we lost? Yeah.
I don't know how you lost that. That right at the very end though, that was unreal.
Well, there's two managers that at least been to Wembley on here.
Yeah, bring that up
At
again.
least you can say that.
Yeah, no, great honour.
Right, so won't be a second, and we'll be away.
How's things, Keith? All right?
Yeah, not bad. Kev, plodding on as normal. I was just saying to the lads, got my first round of golfing today, which took a lot of stress off for a change. I actually see it took about 100 people. I ain't seen that for about 4 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah, phone's been busy the last few days. I don't know why. So,
Updating your CV.
yeah. See, I didn't know what CV meant. So, there we go. My under 13s can start training now, so my kids are happy.
Well, we're still blocked by the Eastern League Facebook group, just so you know, Keith. It's still tweet anything there.
Stop upsetting people, Dave.
Yeah.
It's what happened when you put 4 girls together.
That's it, yeah. There's more to come. Yeah.
And a bottle of wine and some gin and whatever you've been doing.
Oh, I'm sure Ali's glass gets bigger and bigger every week, if I'm honest. But there we go. It seems to. Well, welcome to the D&K Reposs on Lee show. And me and Keith, we're here for the next 2 hours. And, of course, with our guests tonight. But first things first, as you just heard, maybe if you've tuned in a bit early, it's a nice round of golf today and a bit of a suntan to go with it, mate.
Oh, vitamin D, Dave. I was lacking it. It does a lot for you. Nice to go out. I'm not as I said to the lads, my legs were aching after 16 holes in a bad way. So that's obviously age and a bit out of time. But no, it was nice.
I thought he was going to say fishing for the ball in the bushes.
No, I don't hit it that far.
And then joining me and Keith tonight, we start with the top left and we'll go work our way around. And of course, we got non-league legends tonight. We've got Super Legend in the top left-hand corner. And of course, he's done Mr. BT Sport and everything else and documentaries and games on TV. And of course, that's the one and only Mr. Neil Smith. Welcome, Neil.
Hiya, guys. You okay?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. And then to my far right, of course, friend of the show, Mr. Dean Barker. And of course, at MK Dons at the minute, mate.
Yeah, all good, mate. Evening, everyone.
And then, of course, at the very, very bottom down there, of course, he's, of course, the one and only Mr. Kevin Watson, manager at Cray Valley. How are you, Kev?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Dave, good evening, everyone.
So, guys, I suppose other than if you take Neil's sort of situation out for the minute, I mean, some surprising sort of news over the last, 7 to 10 days, and people losing jobs already, or people walking away from jobs, and of course Neil's situation as well. Are you quite surprised? We're in lockdown, or mostly in lockdown, and all of a sudden his job's changing hands, and also of course Julian Dick's coming back in at Heybridge. Keith?
Oh, you want me to go first? I was going to listen, Dave. No, am I surprised? No, because obviously in lockdown, funny things happen, as I know. Obviously, the two jobs without obviously Neil's that have come up at Lewis and Cray. Yeah, surprised, because as I said, Hugo's a friend of mine as well, and I've known him, and he was doing okay. Obviously, I know obviously Lewis's situation, and I was surprised with that. And obviously I spoke to Hugo, big club, same as Cray, and obviously Tony at Cray Wanderers had done an absolutely great job there, and you thought both of them were, the club and Tony, were going to go up together and go into step two with obviously maybe the new ground on the horizon, and that was a surprise. And as you know, with Ali and obviously I know Tony as well, and it's football, and I think nothing surprises you, and Neil's the biggest surprise of all there. It is weird, and it is now, what's going to happen. But there's two great jobs for two decent managers, and the Julian Dix one was the surprise one, if I'm honest, out of them all, because everything seemed okay at Heybridge, and no one knew that there was even a vacancy there. So like I said, the last we heard with Stuart Nevercott in there was going to push it forward, but that is the crazy world of non-league football.
So, I mean, Neil, with your situation, I mean, did it come as a real sort of bolt out of the blue like it did for everybody else?
Yeah, totally. We'd been on a good run up until Tuesday night when we lost to Sutton, who are absolutely flying at the moment. Coming Thursday to prepare for training for the game against Wrexham away, and then to be told Thursday morning that I'm relieved of my duties. So didn't go in there on the Thursday expecting anything other than, getting the lads sorted and ready for the game. So massive shock, still in shock. Bit gutted really, because I thought I deserved the chance to finish the season and try and get the team in the playoffs.
When obviously, did they give you any reasons why? Or also at the beginning of the season, did you have expectations? Like you said, I know, take the Dover results out that dropped you a few positions, but a couple of weeks ago you were sitting right up there.
Yeah, we were seventh on the Thursday, the day it happened. We were sitting seventh. So, in the playoffs at the beginning of the season, being so difficult with the COVID situation and whether we were going to finish the season and do a whole season as we were, it was just stay up, You got a free hit really. My own personal desire wanted to get us in the playoffs, because I believed I built a squad good enough to be pushing for that sort of position against some of the massive clubs that are in that league at the moment, all full time. And then when you're sort of sitting seventh, that's the last thing you expect is to be given the sack. So yeah, totally surprised. I thought I was, like I've done every year. I think I'm sometimes punching above where we should be, but it's fantastic to think that I'm leaving a club where the expectations are seventh isn't good enough.
It's funny as well, like I said, I don't know your chairman, Robin, but obviously I know Jerry, the chairman, there for years, and I know the club. But, when you took over the club, and I tell people where they were, but like I said, you're in a league with what's it, 8 or 9, 10 Div 2, Div 1 side, Notts Counties, your Torquays and Yeovils, and, there is no disrespect to Bromley or the side of the club, but they've done tremendous. But you are punching against some massive clubs there. But tell people where you were when you first went into the club.
Well, I would have been in there 10 years in June, and when I first come in, we were Conference South. For the first couple of years, we were fighting relegation. I come in there as Mark Goldberg had gone back in. He brought me in as first team coach, assistant manager. Just fighting relegation every year. Just stay up in Conference South. We then turned it around. We got to the playoffs, missed out in the playoffs. Then we won promotion as champions to Conference National, the highest we've ever been. The first season we started off well, then we had a big dip, and that's when I took over, I think 2016. And then since then, it's just, you know, we've maintained that level. You're having to deal with budgets. You probably had too much, too many players. I was having to get rid of players and still be competitive and stay up. Took them to Wembley on a tight budget, and then every year we consistently mid-table and above. We had a great start to the season last year. We lost, I think, 5 players. Literally, we played Torquay with Yeovil, top of the league, and I lost my goalkeeper, centre half, left winger. Lost George Porter for a year. You had to replace 5 players, and it's hard enough replacing one and try and keep that momentum going. And by the time we got it back to normal, COVID happened. So then points per game make it out as if that's where you were going to finish, but we never finished the season. So this year, bit of a up and down start because of all the stuff that was going on. And as I say, I thought we were just getting a bit of momentum going. And as I say, looking to get in the playoffs. I wanted to achieve the playoffs because that was my ultimate goal myself, a personal goal of reaching it and getting Bromley in there for the first time in their history. So, yeah, 5 years ago, just stay up in the league and be competitive to mid-table finishes. And as I say, playing the likes of Notts County, Chesterfield, Wrexham, and being competitive against them, Yeovil Town.
I don't know about anybody else. I mean, Dean and Kevin. I mean, was you as surprised as what we were when you saw the news?
Yeah, from the outside, you look like doing a great job, Neil. So not just because you're on here, but like you say, the clubs, the sizes of the clubs that have been in League One and League Two. For Bromley, no disrespect to Bromley, but for Bromley to be pushing in the playoffs, mate, you've done a great job there.
Dean, when I first walked in, our average gate was 400 to 500 on a Tuesday night. Depending on the club, it might be 350 to get it up to 2,000. That doesn't just happen overnight. I was trying to bring the club to the community and the community to the club. Between myself and Mark Hammond, who was a major influence with myself getting the academy going. And we, I walked in with 30 kids. We've now got 250. We've got 5 academy kids in our first team, made their league debuts this year. We've got league clubs looking at our academy. I've got a girls' academy, a women's football team. We didn't have all that when I first walked through the door. It was something that we wanted to do. We were 2 nights a week. I created a professional club that now train full-time. We have breakfast, we have lunch, we have match analysis, video analysis. That's not done with a massive budget. That's done by something that you've had to grow over time. And I think, Woody's gone in there, Andy Woodman's gone in there, and everything's ready for him. Everything ready. You've got a chairman that he's desperate to do well. We've built this new stand with all the facilities that's going in. And I just feel disappointed that I'm not going to get to see and use any of it.
No, do you think the disappointing thing... Go on, sorry, Dean.
No, I totally understand what Neil's saying.
Like I said, I know Hamo really well as well, Neil, and like the setup you've done, especially with the academy, is massive. And all the time, I think even Kevin and I, when we've gone over there to play Cray, or you can see the ground getting better and better and better, and the new stand, and obviously the AstroTurf even out the back. But with so many few games left to go as well, which has surprised me, and obviously I think even looking on, speaking to fans and people there, is even with Woody coming in, that it's going to be difficult for him to get into that promotion. Obviously, the ambitions of Bromley must be humongous, and when you are so close to maybe the Football League, you can see that. But that's the thing. If it had been at the end of the season and you missed that, you could go, well, I can not sort of see, but But now it's difficult to make that change with only, what, is it 10, 11, 12 games to go?
I think it's 14 games to go, 15 games to go. So there was enough points to try and grab. And, we've got to play Notts County twice. We've got to play Chesterfield twice. We haven't played these teams yet. So, there was points with teams that are around us. And I genuinely believe, and I still do now, that squad of players could have done it and still can. Don't get me wrong, they still can. But I just believe that now it just seems weird why it happened now with 2 months to go, a chance of doing it. If I didn't get it, then I think you've got an excuse to say, right, we're bringing someone who can take us to the next level. But I genuinely believe I could have done it.
So what now for you, Neil? Obviously, you've come from, like I said, you've took the club, like you said, for training two nights a week, Wembley, and done everything to full time. Is that what you want to do? Is now full time? You want to stay in full time and obviously progress yourself now?
Of course, I want to stay at the highest level I can, but I'm not discounting anything. If there's a club that wants to go somewhere, wants to try and achieve something, help build it. I think I've got the experience to do it. You know, as I say, started from scratch, and we've now got a professional club that, as I say, is competing with a top team. So I've not discounted anything. I will take, you know, a bit of time out, just take stock, but I'm not one of them that want to sit around and wait, you know, and rest up. I want to get back in as soon as I can.
And I suppose that sort of brings me on to sort of questions with Dean, because it's Dean's sort of job at MK Dons as well. I mean, you go into, I mean, I know, Keith, you went into VCD and you walked in the door, there's no one there. You know, you might start, you know, when Kevin goes into Cray Valley, he goes in there with players in there, and Neil goes into Bromley for the first time. How then, guys, do you go into a club? Do you have a set plan of recruitment? So, you know, how hard is that for you guys to go into the clubs that you've been into in your career, and including yourself, Dean? You know, you've been in. How hard is that to recruit the players that you want, and to recruit the staff, like you just said? You know, your staff will be staying with the new manager. So if they stay with the new manager, how hard is that then for you to actually get a team that you can trust around you, and also get the players in that you want? Is that a real, you know, bit of a nightmare for you, or do you find that quite easy?
Well, just talking for myself, when I went in at MK Dons, obviously we had Paul Teasdale as the manager. Few weeks later, he's left and Russ Martin's come in. So totally changed. The players we were looking at totally changed. And Russell plays obviously a totally different style of football, which is getting a lot of plaudits at the moment. And obviously we're winning games. So in terms of recruitment for what I do and stuff, it's depending on what the first team manager wants, really.
I think it'd be hard if you're walking into a club and you're taking on the staff that have been with the manager that's just gone. You've got to win those over just as much as you've got to win the players over. The players are pretty, you know, they'll go with whoever picks them. So even though I've gone, if the new manager comes in and starts picking players that are not in the side and stuff like that, they'll just get on with their job. But I think if you're walking into a management team, you've got to win them over, because you've got to earn their trust like they've got to earn your trust. And, you know, what I had with my staff was full commitment. And I know they'll commit to Andy Woodman, but I think he'll need to earn their trust just as much as he needs to earn their trust over the time. And you just think, how much time have you got if you want to still be competing, you know, in the playoffs?
So if you go into another job, then say, Neil, that's the same level as Bromley in the future, you know, and say that was to happen in the next couple of months or so, do you then look at that and go, right, okay, recruitment wise, do you go in there and look at the players you've got for the first couple of weeks, and then if the transfer window's then open, do you then go back to tried and trusted players that you've had at Bromley? Do you try and then sort of try and bring them to your new team because you know that they know how you want things done and how they get things done?
I think you give everybody a chance. You walk into the new club and you'll give everybody a chance, and you'll see the ones that want to, you know, give it a go. You'll see the ones that have probably had enough if they weren't playing and want to leave. And then it's your judgment of what players are available. You know, it's all right saying, "Oh, I'll take the boys from Bromley" and stuff like that, but they might be contracted and you might not be able to get them. So you'd have had a sort of database of players that you were keen on anyway, that you might have wanted to bring into Bromley, where you bring them into the other club that you might go into. But yeah, I think you give the players some sort of chance to impress you, because I think it's only right.
Kevin?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say what you would do. It depends on the circumstances and the situation. So, for example, at Cray, when I came in, it was very different to when I started at Chatham. At Chatham, it was towards the end of the season, so I had an opportunity to build for the next season. At Cray, I more or less inherited the team because I came in sort of part way through the season. I think, like Smudge said, it's important to listen to people, give people a chance. I was told at Cray that the team I inherited were very good and talented, and they'd been quite successful to date. I don't dispute that. Over time, it materialised that the relationship between me and those players, they had an allegiance to the previous manager. They didn't necessarily fit sort of my ethos and way of playing. So that turnover was a little bit more gradual, and over time I had to bring my own players in. But in terms of recruitment in general, for me, I think something that goes amiss is, and something we focus on a lot, is personality. And they've got to buy into the ethos and the vision of the club and the way in which we work. So talent is one thing in terms of the physicality and what they could bring from a footballing perspective. But the other side of it is sort of their emotional intelligence and their sort of values as people. So we do quite a lot of research, albeit it's a relatively low level, isn't it, that we're working at, but we try and do a lot of research on what people are about. Because I think if you recruit the wrong players, then the whole culture of the club that can be lost. And for that reason, your sort of market and pool of players you're looking at starts to narrow a little bit, because you've got all the natural things about money, location, level. And then if you put on top of that, but we want to bring in the right people as well, then actually the market's quite small.
Keith, I mean, you went into VCD and there was no one there.
Yeah, opened the door on. Yeah, it echoed. But that happens, Dave. Obviously, different levels. Tony left. They were successful, and he took his team to a club. Obviously, it was a league below at the time, but they trusted him and the way they worked. And at the moment, like you said, I would say when Tony gets another job, that depending on what level it is, that most of them players will go with him, because players do at a different level. If they're not on contract, you do bond relationships and things like that. But with myself, it was, I think everyone knows that I spend a lot of time watching games and that, Dave, and I know quite the level of football we play at. I know, like Kevin and Smudge as well. You know players. You've got endless of players, contacts you've made over the how many years, and what you want to bring in. But also budgets come into it as well. Can you afford them? Smudge can get a job where we might have a bigger budget or a smaller budget, and some of the players are out of grasp or all of a sudden become available. But I think you've got to know as a manager. You've got to know players. You've got to know your job, and you've got to know the leagues that you're going into. And the ones that don't are the ones that will struggle. And then, and it takes time as well. Like I said, and I'm not saying that when I took to go at VCD in the Prem, we were a smaller club then, and to starting from scratch, it takes 2 to 3 years to start building the side. And it did with us. And then all of a sudden, you're just outside the playoffs. And when obviously I got the sack, we were again. But it's difficult, but you've just got to trust what your ethos in football is and the players around you. I think with me, I brought my own staff in. If I would have gone into a club with staff, then it's difficult as well, because you've got to build that relationship with your assistant manager. You've got to know that he's not after your job. He's not going to stab you in the back. When the chairman, you've lost the game and they're all there like hunting for you because they do and they're passionate, and every chairman's the same. When you lose a game, they want to kill you themselves. That he's there fighting your corner. And you need that relationship with everything that you say in your changing room, with your coaches and that stays in the changing room. You've got to have that real bond, and you've got to be able to trust them. And so just to walk in, as maybe what he's going to do at Bromley, will be hard for him as well, because he'd be like, I want to trust him, but can I trust him? Is it going to leak? So there's loads of things in, and you just get bonds. And sometimes you know, I know Hamo really, really well, and when he was young and played, you know, he mostly still is a laugh and a joke and a character. But can you bond with him? Can you really trust him? And Kev's got that with his assistant and coaches at Cray Valley, and they're the things that you really. And sometimes, Dave, you'll bond with someone that you don't even think you were ever going to bond with, and then you get great relationships. You know, Steve Waite with me, a goalkeeper coach. Steve, I know people around. He's 67. I know Kevin knows him well. I've known Steve for 27 years in football. And even now, I've rung him up, and he's helping coach under 13s with me at that age. And then that's the loyalty. And I would trust him with anything, and even personal stuff with him. And they're the bonds you get.
Dean, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. You have to bring in your own staff. I've probably, like we all have, you learn along the way, don't you? You meet some good people, you meet some bad people. And yeah, definitely, even with players as well, like say, if they've got a bond with a previous manager, sometimes you're better off to just bring in your own players and start fresh, I think.
So with your job with MK Dons, tell us a little bit about it and what you have to, what the job role was a little bit about.
Yes, I've been doing it for about a year and a half now. So I went in with the first team, like I said, with Paul and Liam, watching lots of games at different levels, under 23, League One, League Two, National League. And now I've sort of working with the academy as well, trying to improve the academy from under 7s to under 18. So just lots of games, lots of players, building contacts. Obviously, recently I've been one of the lucky ones that have been watching football where a lot of people haven't been able to. So I was at Notts County on Saturday. So yeah, just building contacts and watching lots of players really to help the football club in general.
We're talking to Notts County, of course. We'll be joined about 8:30 tonight by Tony Gay, Lewis Spence, and Mr. Purcell will be joining us at about 8:30 tonight. So
they might be hungover.
He didn't sound too healthy on the way to work this morning, Tony. I'll be honest with you, when he was on his way to work this morning. But I mean,
you talk about managers, David. I mean, Notts County changed their manager. They're in the semi-final of the trophy, in the playoffs, I think, or just outside. They changed the game, and obviously they lose on Saturday. So it's sometimes you can't understand it, can you?
I mean, on that, I know we're going off the subject a little bit, but I mean, what a fantastic result that was, not only for Hornchurch at the weekend, but for Hereford as well.
Yeah, really good.
Well, Neil's been there, and you know what it takes to get to Wembley in the trophy. And Kev, you've done it in the Vase, but for a step 3 club that haven't played any football whatsoever, obviously to knock Maidstone out, and and then go through the groups of that, and then go to Notts County. Obviously, I know Averley went there last year, which was brilliant, but to beat them at home as well is and they were losing, and to get a last minute equaliser is just unbelievable. I know you was at the game, Dean, but and you've played them, Neil. They're a great side, aren't
they? They're a fantastic side, and I think full credit to Stimo doing it with Hornchurch, as you say, not having games, literally just keeping them ticking over, training for the FA Trophy, and to keep going the goal down and then coming back. They did it against Maidstone. I know they scored a last-minute goal there as well, and a 5-4, whatever the score was. So, full credit to him. I've only got, I've known Stimo years. I was at Tottenham with him. I was a young kid, and I've got the utmost respect for what he's done at Hornchurch, and let alone what he was doing at Grays when he was there at that time as well. And you just think, surely someone's going to give him a chance to get back up to a level where I believe he should be.
Well, that's the only good thing about that, I suppose, is now that they've got Hereford in the final, and they're going to be in the same boat, with no games as well. So, leading up to the final, but that's a long way off. It's about 7 weeks, I think, isn't it, to the final?
Is it May the 22nd? Is that right? Yeah.
Supporters are allowed in, though, Dave, aren't they?
Well, I saw today that the semi-finals of the FA Cup, they're going to have a test event, and they're going to use them as a test event. So I would have thought by then, possibly, yeah.
Go on, Kev.
Go on.
I was just going to say, I actually went up to Notts County to watch. We were drawn against Maidenhead in the FA Cup, and they were playing Notts County at Notts County. What a setup that is, by the way, up there. Stadium is unbelievable. I was just blown away. Managed to get in on sort of scouting ticket, if you like. But I was really impressed with Notts County. Like, Maidenhead beat them on the day. But I was glad we were playing Maidenhead and not Notts County. They were a really strong outfit, to be fair.
It makes you think, Dave, like I said, and Kevin and Neil, you both know this. When, to get to the final of that, you're not just lucky through the rounds. You've got a really strong side. And when you look and your Worthings, and I know your Craywans and all that going, that we could have gone up this year. With that side he's got there, I know it's easy now, but you've got to say, wow, they would have been there or thereabouts themselves.
Oh, definitely. I think they've got experienced players. They've got good young players. They play an attacking style of football. You don't score the amount of goals if you're just sitting and defending. And I think that's always been Stimo's way. As I say, when he did it at Grays, he had a fantastic team down at Grays. I think where every one of those players, once they they left Grays, went into the league. They followed him in there. Your Stuart Fergoods, your Dennis Ollies. He had a fantastic side then. And I think he's sort of doing the same with Hornchurch. Who knows? I think you can always say these were going to win, they were going to win, but I think that's the love of football. You never know, and I think they had just as good a chance as anyone else.
Yeah, I'm really pleased, and I said this to you, Dave. Obviously, some of the players there, but obviously, and I think he played for you. Did Brownie play for you, Kev?
Brownie, not as far as I'm aware.
He was with me. I think he might have Thames League and VCD, and obviously going and then I know he played and started on Saturday as well. It's like a great achievement for himself. And the whole, like I said, I don't know if you see the tweets from Spence. I know he's coming on as well. You know, he's been about a bit. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And Dicko getting the winning penalty. I think he was scoring goals for was he in the Conference South when he on loan a couple of weeks ago for Dartford, and then back there. Dartford. Did you see the penalty?
Yeah, what penalty, by the way?
Oh my God, he took 2 steps and stuck it in the top corner.
Yeah,
he's a confident boy.
Yeah, he always was.
Yeah.
But then that shows you some fantastic recruitment there by Stimo, doesn't it? I mean, you know, we talk about recruitment as such, but I mean, that is a fantastic squad that he's put together there.
Dave, just going back to what you were saying though, a lot of that side, and we said about Philip, was with him at Thurrock. You know, I know his own boy was on, but obviously, a lot of them, he has put a little bit of experience in there as well. But he's grew them with him, and that's what you can achieve once you get that side together.
Even like Charlie Ruff, who's there, like Charlie, great young player who was with me at Kings Langley. He sort of since I left Kings Langley, he's floated around 3 or 4 clubs, just sat on the bench, not really done much. He's gone to Hornchurch and he's flying.
No, they've done ever so well.
Well, they definitely have done. Well, I mean, football-wise itself, I mean, with recruitment though, Keith, I mean, when you went in there, how did you then go about building a squad, and how did you go about building a backroom team as such?
Well, the squad was difficult because the season was only going to start in 4 weeks when I think I took over, or 5 weeks. So a lot of people were obviously already at clubs, but you just try and go into the first thing I tried to do, Dave, was get players that I could trust at the beginning, that I could sort of build round, and then obviously, you know, what you've got, and then, you know, you go out and try your arm and with what you can get. With the staff, the same again. Obviously, I said I'd wait in whatever, and then the conversation me and you had, I was looking for a coach with Danny Lee. It's been about, and you said, look, I think you two would get on well when we met, and did really, really get on well, and obviously we blossomed from there. And I've said this to you before. I used to do all my own coaching and everything myself, and Dan was the first person that I actually trusted properly to go off and do whatever I want him to do. And our relationship really, you know, for the 5 years was brilliant. But like I said, you do something like VCD or step 3. Step 4 club is a little bit different than obviously a step 2 and a step 1 where you've got people on contracts and etc. where you either got left with a team 6 or 7. They're because Neil mostly will tell you this, and you could turn up with a club that there's 3 or 4 players that you might have managed before that you fell out with that are on contract there that you need to get rid of because you don't get on, and then that causes different propositions for you as well. So sometimes at higher or you go into a club, it can be really difficult that you've got bodies that you might not want there.
Did you have that, Neil?
When I first took over, there were a few players that are on 2-year deals that weren't probably in my mindset, but you have to get the best out of them while they're there with you. So you have to, you know, I'm one of them. I treat them with honesty and respect, and you hope you get that back. But you know, I also believe that if you talk to them and you tell them, look, this isn't going to happen, let's work with each other to try and find you a club, rather than, right, I don't want you, and you sort of sideline them. I think you try and work together, because you do need them like they need you to find this other club, because otherwise it could be, they're on the contract for 16 months to go, say, but they don't want to sit in the stands and do nothing for 16 months because it's only going to cost them later on. So I think if you're honest with most players and you say let's work together for no other reason, I think you can do it. But it is a difficult situation if you, like Keith just said, if you've got a player there that doesn't want you, you don't want them, and then you're just fighting against each other, because then that can spread into the changing room and just cause distrust. So I just think you've got to work together, and I think the best way, in my opinion, is to be honest with them.
Kevin?
I was just going to ask the question to Smudge, really. That transition between part-time to full-time, people assume that's probably quite easy going full-time and that luxury, but the player pool must be quite difficult because obviously you've got people that have got decent jobs. You probably want to keep them and they're unable to commit to full-time.
But that was the problem. You know, as soon as we went from part-time to, right, we're going to go 2-3 mornings a week just to start it off so they can still do their job. And it was like, well, are you going to cover the cost of my work? You know, I'm earning this at work and I'm earning this at football. Well, you're going to cover the cost of both if we're going to go full-time, which we couldn't. So then all of a sudden you're looking at, you know, players sort of coming up who want to still try the professional game, 22, 23-year-old that might be in the league below, or you're getting players that have just left league clubs and still want to be in that professional environment of training every day. But when we first took over and we were doing it, it was chaos, it was mayhem because people were still working, and then we had 2 mornings a week with the option of a Monday. And you know, how does that work? If someone doesn't want to turn up all of a sudden, they're not turning up because they've taken the option that they don't want to, or they got work. Your training schedule was all over the place. And over that course of time, that's when we had to filter through who actually wants to go full time and give it a go, who doesn't because they want to still work, or who wants to go into part-time, you know, stay in that non-league part-time football. So it was chaos for the first 2 years I sort of took over of trying to get that leveling off that, right, now we can go full-time. We're signing professional footballers in my eyes who are going to do it full-time. And that's when, you know, 2018, we got that trip to Wembley. And I genuinely believe that was the first sort of year that we went full-time. And I thought that's when we started being a professional football club.
Was that a situation then, Neil, when you were looking for players there, then you actually, you know, if there was a decent player, say we were looking at it now and you've looked at a couple of Hornchurch players maybe, and you thought, well, you know, they might be able to do it in that league. You know, you've then got to go to them. But of course, one of the first questions would it have been, you know, can you go full time? And would that
Kizzy,
prime
example, Kizzy. You know, we'd seen him play at Chelmsford, and you know, I'd sort of obviously liked what he did, but he was a school teacher. And we just said, look, I can give you full-time football. I can give you that opportunity. And he had to weigh it up. And in the end, he come on board and he's flourishing. And I genuinely believe he could have a chance in the league. I think definitely at this level, conference national level for a few more years. But you're trying to convince him, come out of being a teacher. Let's just have a crack at it. At least if it doesn't work, you can go back into that. If it does work, you're laughing. You know, what a life. You know, getting up and going football every day. You know, you can't dream of that. You do dream of it, but you don't get the opportunities all the time. And he's grabbed it 100%. But training every day takes its toll on you because your body's not used to it and acclimatizing. And I think now he is ready to take the next stage.
How was it for you as well, Neil? Because obviously, as you just said, and we all know this, when you're only training twice a week and you've got players for 2 hours and some on the treatment table and whatever, and you're trying to cram things in and you're doing different training sessions, all of a sudden now you've got to change your complete training schedule for nearly every day, different games. How did you adapt to that? How easy did you find that as well?
I loved it. I sort of come from the full-time aspect, and then I went into part-time, and that I had to get my head around that. That took acclimatising to wait until the evening to train. And I was working with the Academy at Bromley Football Club anyway, so I was training in the morning, having a bit of lunch. By the time you have your tea, you were training again. That's what I had to get my head around, and going back to full-time. And once you get them in full-time, you don't just wake up on the Monday and go, oh, right, what shall I do? There's a process of what you're doing a long time beforehand. You're looking at the games you've got, you're assessing the team, how you're going to prepare against that team, your set plays, it all goes hand in hand. And obviously sometimes if you ain't got a game on a Tuesday, you'll train them harder on a Tuesday. But with the situation of lockdown, there was no guide, there was no book to stick to, because this is what you do if there's a pandemic and you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, and then you have 5 weeks off because someone's had COVID or they've had another lockdown. So this was the weirdest year ever, but you try to be mentally prepared for when you go back for at least that month, and you just keep going. Right, what's the next month? Right, we've got 7 games that month, and you're looking at your days already. But fair play to the players, you know, and I say fair play to the players because everyone says how lucky they are. It was difficult, you know. They've still got their situation of the COVID and the pandemic at home when they're not at football club. You know, they didn't want to get anything to take it home with them. They couldn't see their parents. They're going through everything else, but they had the release of actually coming in and training and speaking and seeing other people. And I think that was their release. But there was still a mental side that, you know, I don't think people were giving them credit for at this moment in time.
And Dave sort of mentioned recruitment. Was it when obviously step 3 stopped and then step 2? Was it sort of then tempting to go, right, we could sort of pick a few bargains up here, or they're good enough, or really we can get them in because, you know, it's an opportunity for them as well?
We had, you know, we had a load of phone calls, and I did a bit of phoning around. Then you had the club saying, well, you can't have them, they're on furlough. So do you then take them? And you have to take them off the furlough and they become your player. So it was a lot of to and fro-ing. And I had a decent squad anyway, but there were a couple in the leagues below where they'd even ask, can we come in and train with you? You know, we'll play for you for nothing and stuff like that you were sort of looking at, but you didn't want to bring them in if they weren't as good as what you had anyway. And that's no being disrespectful, but, you know, you only wanted to bring in better players than what you already had. But yeah, no, we were looking down that line of just seeing, well, look, they're not playing anymore. They've done really well this season. What, two or three players could we take from there if we needed to?
And the same with you, Dean. Go on, Kev. Go on.
None of my players would have phoned just Smudge, would they?
Or yours.
They wouldn't play for nothing.
They were on furlough. They said you furloughed them.
Dean, did that open up a like I said, the same sort of thing with players sort of speaking to yourself from non-league and that once obviously the sort of COVID hit?
Well, no, in terms of it had a negative effect in terms of younger players being able to go out on loan because of all the bubbles and the testing and stuff like that. So if you take our under 18 group for this season, they've missed out on a lot of non-league football because they just haven't been able to go. One, because there's been no games. And then 2, because of the testing and stuff like that, they haven't been able to go. And even the boys who are sort of pros and could go and play in the National League and National South, that's stopped them playing as well. So it's been a bit of a negative effect, especially on the under 18 players this year.
That's really hard, and that's for both of you. And we've kept that them lads have missed out on either an opportunity of 1 or 2 years of football, either making it at a pro level, or does the club take a gamble on them? Because like you said, they can't go anywhere to play.
Yeah, and we don't have an under 23s at MK Dons. So in terms of it's under 18s or first team, and Russ is really good with getting the younger boys in, and a lot of them have played for the first team this year, but there's some of them that definitely would have benefited from playing some non-league football this year.
Yeah, we had 2 or 3 out on loan. We had a couple at Lewis. We had a couple that were going out to play in the couple of leagues below, but then I've had to use them in my first team. So they missed out on some games, but they've had the opportunity because I couldn't bring anybody in as well because of the bubbles. They've been in the first team, so we've given a few of our academy boys their league debuts. So, yeah, we wanted them to get game time and man them up a little bit and get used to the physicality side of what a football match is really about. But they've also had the little bit of luck when I have had injury and I can't just bring somebody in, that they've been thrown on the bench.
Yeah, Checker Trade Trophy is really big for league clubs, particularly ours, to give them an opportunity of playing first team football.
Mm-hmm.
With both, and again, you just mentioned a couple of lads you had on Lewis, but we're on about recruitment. When you're going to go and put a youngster on loan or a player on loan, do you look, one, obviously the step he's playing at, and obviously it's beneficial to him? Is there a level that you wouldn't send them down to? 2, obviously the club, or 3, the manager. And obviously now I know yourself with Hugo, you know him well. So if it is the manager, and something like what's just happened this week, if they were still playing, would you sit there and go, right, we wait for the new manager, or do you think, hold on, I need to pull him back? Which ways do you go?
We obviously go with the team and the highest that they can get into, but we're not really fussed as long as they're playing good standard of football, but also the manager that I know that's going to give me the truth about how they've done, whether it's their attitude, their ability, and they're going to still be coached. I'm not sending them down there and forgetting about them. I want them to have good education in football, the right way in what we believe in. So when they come back to us, they're ready to go. Rather than I'm not getting rid of a player and then they're out of my mind. I'll speak to the manager consistently, knowing what he's been getting up to, and you trust what the manager's then giving you back. So there is a trust in the management. You want them to play at the highest level, but it is about getting games.
Someone's just come in and asked me to ask Neil if he enjoyed his trip to Kings Lynn and winning 4-1.
Kings Lynn 4-1, great game. Why wouldn't you? It was they were a good side, to be fair. Kings Lynn, I think he's done a great job there. The manager, he had some really good players. The score doesn't give them justice. They were a good side, Kings Lynn.
With obviously, Neil, now you're out of the firing line, we can ask you this question without getting in trouble. But what are all your thoughts on the fines that the National League have just dished out? Let's take Dover aside for a minute, because obviously that's a little bit different. But we've made points about, obviously, with Dulwich Hamlet, etc., and all that, getting you £8,000 and all the way down. These are the teams that have obviously announced it, especially when the season was null and void. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think it's hard to find someone for not playing when it's null and void. I think they're all put in a situation. My problem was at the beginning of the season, right, you can start because this season will end. It will finish. If we're going to start, it's going to go the whole. So then the rules sort of change, and I'm not privy to what actually went on in those meetings with the board of directors and the national leagues conference, north and south. But if you're saying, right, we're going to start it, it should be then able to finish. And that's my frustration, that halfway through the rules change. It's now loans, not grants. So the clubs aren't prepared for that. They don't want to go into debt because you're not allowed to and they don't want to. So then null and void it. To then say, right, well, you didn't play, so we're going to fine you. I just think it's bad. I think it's bad practice. My problem with it all was, we get a £10 million grant. The money's divvied up, however it was divvied up, whether it was right or wrong. There's public, your supporters are looking at you saying, well, you've just been given that amount of money and now you're not playing for the rest of the season, or it's null and void. What a waste of 10 million quid.
I think the big thing you mentioned there, which a lot of people don't know on the outside, is that there is a rule that you're not allowed to be in debt or loan money, but then they're giving you loans. So that was the thing that was ridiculous.
That was the whole problem with it. We're going to give you a debt for you to finish. We're allowing you to get into debt, but the seasons before, you can't go into debt or you'll get fined. And it's ridiculous. And I don't know how it got to this stage. That whoever runs the National League, I don't think there has been any guidance. I don't think there's been any leadership. It was literally waiting to see what the EFL did. The divisions below null and void. The divisions were playing. And
I think Neil's frozen.
He's frozen. We'll come back to Neil in a minute.
Obviously, that is how powerful the National League is, Dave. They stop you saying stuff.
The off button. I think it's because he was disappearing to the gloom in the background. That's what it was.
Yeah. For the first time, though, you can see the no vote of no confidence, I think, will go through. I think it could have a massive, massive change.
Yeah. No, definitely. Kevin, I mean, one thing for me, we talked about recruitment and getting players in, etc., etc. What was the situation for you though? Was you looking at getting in more players the longer you went in the FA Vars?
It was around Christmas time, and obviously we had a budget to work towards. I had a conversation with sort of the committee and the board. We had agreed that we needed to strengthen by a couple of players, and because we had obviously brought in the revenue because we had a good FA Cup run as well that season, and from the Vars, it was agreed to extend the budget to bring in 2 more players. We brought in Gavin Tomlin and Paul Semakula. So yeah, it's just about those discussions really with people, but we certainly needed to strengthen because just the pure volume of games we had.
Yeah. Bringing in someone like Gavin, that's got a booster squad, don't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Gav's got tremendous ability, and we needed someone of experience, and he done great for us that season and the following season. Also, Paul Semakula, he'd spent a long time. He'd spent time at Billericay, Leatherhead, and again, just really valuable experience to bring in. But yeah, that cup run was great. But you mentioned Grays earlier, like that's an incredible achievement. What they've done to get to the trophy final.
So where was we with Neil? What was you? I can't remember what you was asking Neil now before he disappeared.
Don't forget, he's on mute. Neil, take yourself off mute. It's like the advert. There you go. Oh.
There
you go.
There you go.
I think it was the National League that did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Throw nothing.
Yeah.
But that's got to be ridiculous, though, isn't it? And I mean, I saw you tweet it out yourself earlier on, Keith. You know, that how on earth can you actually start fining people for a season that doesn't exist? I mean, it's just like, there's just no brain cells behind it whatsoever, is there? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, Dave, I was, you know, the more and more you think about it, I know someone come back to me and said, oh, I believed all the player suspensions and that should, but that's different, you know. If even in a game of season, if you've booted or done something ridiculous, you get punished for it. But to do it the way they've done, and like especially looking at the league rules saying you can't go into debt, etc. And you know there are some clubs, and I can only look at Dulwich Hamlet as that especially they need their fans. That you know that their fans are huge, and not to have them, they're losing money hand over fist. And you know, and they were asked did they want to play or not, and they've said no. And then to get a fine now once it's all finished is just beyond me. And I do think they will get a vote of no confidence. Yeah. Which could be a massive upheaval. It might be what's needed. I think as well that if that does happen, I think the voting rules may change as well. I know there are some big powerhouses, and Neil, you've been in, you know, that league with some humongous clubs in there that basically bully others, I think, as well. And it might all change.
Yeah, I think obviously the ex-league clubs hold a lot of sway, and you know they want to get back into the league as quickly as they can. So. You know, they don't want to be in a tin pot led league. They want to be in a good league if they are going to come down. But, you know, otherwise you're going to lose that association from the league coming into your division. But I genuinely believe, I think they've had to do it as a rule, but I don't think they'll follow it through. I don't think they can. I seriously don't think they can. I think it's a rule at the moment because they've had to do it because that was the rule. And if you don't play your game, I don't think they'll follow it through. I just don't think they can.
Do you think Dover might be different though?
I think Dover might be different in respect of they just stopped. They didn't look to try and do anything. Obviously, I know Jim and especially Hess and some of the players down there. They would have loved to have played. They would have loved to have kept going on, but obviously Jim took the decision to pull it completely. And I think that might be the only one that gets a little bit of comeback.
Yeah.
Because they're the only team in our division that have actually stopped it. Others have, however they've done it, have kept on playing.
Yeah.
Well, I think three of the teams that have actually gone for this emergency meeting as such, and they're all ex-Isthmian sides as well, aren't they? Maidstone. I saw today Concord was another one that said they agree with it, and Dorking Wanderers.
Again, I just think with like teams like Dorking, you know, he's been brilliant. The manager there, you know, the owner. They've tried to do it. They've even tried to come up with plans so the teams that can play try and get promotion. I think it's been amazing. They've not seen a problem. They've tried to give solutions, and no one's listening. You know, Maidstone. You know, look at the size of that club.
Yeah.
They can't just keep paying out the money with nothing coming back. But I bet if you put it to them, right, there was 8 or 9 teams, we're going to play, try and get promotion because we want to keep it going. They would have done it. They would have found a way. I just think that they just, as I say, I don't think they listen to anybody, the league.
What's your thoughts, Kev?
I haven't really got any. Once ours was cancelled, I just switched off, to be honest. Not too bothered about the National League. No, I've got a question for Smudge and Keith, really. Look, I think both of you, the clubs you've been at, you've invested quite a lot in terms of you've been there for quite a long time. You've got heavily involved in sort of the club holistically, not just the first team. Is it even harder when it comes to losing your job or whatever it may be, because it's such a big part of your life?
Obviously, the football side was important, and it always will be. But I live in Bromley. I live in Bromley, so I see it every day. You know, I'm going into the local schools. I was doing assemblies. You know all the sponsors by their name, and you see them around town. So even though I'm now not the manager, I'm still walking around Bromley seeing the guys that I was sort of promoting as well for the club. So like I was saying, I think I can leave with my head held high in respect of we brought the club to the community. We took it out. You know, we didn't expect supporters to turn up and just play. We went and got them. We went and found them and you know, made this club somewhere that was great to want to be supportive of. And during the pandemic, we had to show our support to the sponsors. You know, some of them are going to the wall, some of them are finding it hard, but we were still doing like little videos on a Saturday where it was a live game from the past and promoting them, because it was our job to, you know, they were there for us to support us during the good times, but when it's a tough time, I think it was only right that we supported them, and I think they appreciate that. And I think, you know, hopefully you get that back. I'm just not going to be there to see the fruition of that support that we showed them during these tough times.
Do you think that'll make you cautious going into another job, about how involved you get with a club?
I don't think I could do it any other way, Kevin. I think, you know, if you're going to take me, you take everything, and I'll do exactly the same as what I've done at Bromley. Obviously, you had that little bit more passion, I suppose, at the beginning, because my girls go to school in Bromley. I schooled across the road from the club, so I know the area really well. But wherever I go, I'll do exactly the same. You know, I've got to make sure those supporters see that you're pushing not just on the pitch but off the pitch to promote that club.
Yeah, Kerry, it was just going back with what you're saying about, you know, how do you feel afterwards with it. The Thamesmead one for me was more difficult as I look back, because obviously, you know, I was 11 years and I took them, not just football from the Kent League into the Prem and small, but the community, and I was heavily involved with building the new facility, you know, in this region where I was doing speeches at the European Parliament. I was going to councils. I was designing things. Massive. It took over my life. And I thought a very, very solid youth sides all the way through, and we took the club from, you know, to it was always respected in the name of the club, but into, you know, a different ball game, I think. And the reason when I left there was obviously it was mostly more sanity than anything, is that I took them to that level, more of a community side, and then the actual community side of it shafted the football club. I don't mean the kid, I meant the trust, and it's well documented, and my passion was massive. And you know, I was there every day. The VCD thing, yeah, same as Neil, I'm very 100%, and it's more like a full-time job to me, and my missus and my kids will tell you. And it's to the stage where, you know, I didn't see my kids too much. I was my work, I would go down there, you know, as you know, jump on the tractor, cut pitches, and try and build things that just to try and bring the club along. So when obviously I got the sack there, which, you know, no one thinks you deserve the sack. It don't matter what manager or where you are. You can, and the way it happened, I think, especially with lockdown, and thinking exactly what you just said there. I was waking up in the morning. I had nowhere to go and nothing to do, and it was eating at me. That in a way I was mostly becoming bitter about it. The longer it went on, I was sitting there thinking, especially when you think they're your friends, why they do that? Why didn't they? And wrongly. I not took it the wrong way, but it hurt me more because I had nothing to do. If I was still going into work and lockdown weren't there and I could do things, maybe I could take it. And I look back on that now as my own mental thing going, right, if you do take another job, don't do it. But as Neil just said, you will, because I am all or nothing. I watch games nearly every night of the week, as you know, Kev, you've seen me around, and I still, even with the sack, I was still going to watch games most of the nights when I didn't have a job for something to do. It's sort of actually put in you. And you know, I like going into a club where you're not just a manager, you actually feel like it is your extended family. You know, when I could take my family, my kids there, and they loved it. But stepping back, you do sit and think, God, what did I sacrifice? You know, if I'd had a missus that weren't as, you know, understanding, at the moment I could be a very, very lonely person, because I could be sitting indoors all on my own with no family, no kids, thinking, what the hell did I did? So that is that. But if you're that football way, I can't just switch off. I've never been able to, you know, and even now, you know, I keep myself busy. Some people say maybe too busy in what's going on in football, but I want to know where your players are, what they are, what you're doing, and hopefully that is what you build. But it does, you know, I just think that the day I retire, whenever it is, you know, like I said, I might not get another job. You never know, but I still think I'll have that passion. What about yourself? You know, what you're doing at Cray? You took them from...
Yeah, I try and protect myself, if I'm completely honest. I completely agree with what you both say about if you're going to do something, do it well and to the best of your ability and invest in bits and pieces like that. But I'm very clear with the club about what my remit is. So I'm the first team manager, okay? So yes, I'll keep an eye on the youth and sort of all the stuff that goes on in the club, and I'm consulted on things and bits and pieces like that. But because I'm fully aware that if first team results go down over a course of time, I'll lose my job, then I'm so cautious of that I don't want to overinvest in it, because it could end at any point, and then there's even more disappointment. Sounds a little bit pessimistic, I suppose, but look, you've just seen Smudge has lost his job, like Tony's left. It doesn't last forever, does it? It's a reality.
It doesn't, but I think, as you know, Kevin, and Smudge will tell you this, that the one thing that I've sort of learned as I've gone through over the years, I'm fairly thick-skinned, and nothing really, like personally, I take a little bit on board, but I've been in two clubs, so I didn't have much option to do what I had to do, because at VCD, great club, good chairman, but very, very limited on people that could help. You know, there was about 3 or 4 people in the whole club that done anything, and most of them were getting on a little bit. So you ended up doing the stuff until Gary got a full-time groundsman in. We didn't have anyone, you know, and it was me cutting the youth team pitches and things like that for the club, and I knew that, and I was quite happy with that. And Thamesmead was fairly similar. We had a brilliant committee there, mostly the best committee I've ever known, and we'll always be great friends. But if you go into a club that haven't got a huge amount of helpers, I would say, or volunteers, I think you know what you're signing up to. It'd be great to go and have all these tools as well at a bigger club, and it's something that I want, and I'll never, you know, say that. But I still think I would want to know from top to bottom, you know, that is you're going to get what you see with me, and I think Neil is going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, no, we had a tight office staff, amazing. You know, all the coaches, they were brilliant from the junior section that I'd go and watch the school cup finals, the district cup finals, the youth cup finals, because I thought it was only right that Bromley Football Club were there. If there's a Bromley and District Cup final, Bromley Football Club should be there. If there's a Bromley, a school's final, Bromley should be there. I thought it was only right. We were going to athletics meetings. I was starting cross-country races because I thought it was Bromley's, you know, to be in Bromley. You're competing with Cheltenham, you're competing with Palace, you're competing with Millwall. Well, I think we should be there. We should be big. I want to be this big club. You had a chairman like Robin now, who went to school across the road like I did, wants to make Bromley a big club. But without the foundation of your youth set up and your academy set up and your reserves into the first team's a cherry on the top. That's if you can grow this club from the bottom upwards, then I think you've got a better foundation to go from. Whereas if you put all your money into the top team, what's coming through? Where's your future supporters? Where's your future players? Where it's got to be sustainable outside of someone paying for it. And then that's where myself, Hamo, and now Robin believe that's where it should be. The club should be sustainable, not just on someone handing over a wallet all the time. And that's why we had to grow the club.
With what I've done, Kev, just I think when I look back over, especially when I look at Thamesmead, I look back now, and I don't think, oh, I'm really proud what I am, where I took them football-wise on a small thing into the Ryman Prem at the time. I look back and go, I think where I took them as a club, the people and the ride and the actual club itself. And I look back on that with more pride than maybe what I did football.
Mm-hmm. I think someone says if you leave a club better than when you walked into it, you can't do any more than that. And I think that's where I can leave with my head held high. I know where the club was, and it wasn't any disrespect to what was happening at the club before I walked there. That's where it was. So where it is now, I'm really proud of what I've done. You know, I'm part of that growth of that club, and wherever it goes to, and if it goes into the league, I know somewhere down the line, I can say I was part of that. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. Whatever club I was at, whether I was a player or coach or manager, I've always wanted to be able to go back to somewhere and say, yeah, we remembered where we were. We remembered you won promotion or you did this. And I think I can walk back to Bromley if ever I go back there. And with my head held high, I can't have done any more than what I've done.
Dean, I mean, are you trying to get yourself, Dean? I mean, now going and doing the recruitment stuff at MK Dons. I mean, are you still sort of looking around to get back in, or are you happy with what you've sort of grown into as such?
No, I mean, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. You can never say never in football, can you? Like, if MK Dons finishes tomorrow, you'd be out there looking for different things in football. So, yeah, at the moment, I'm really lucky to be doing what I'm doing. But yeah, in football, football can change quickly, as everyone on here has seen already.
If you look what you've done, Kev, at Cray Valley, and again, no disrespect to the club before you come in, and I know they merged and whatever, but some people say, oh, Cray Valley, like, who really are they? You know, obviously everyone knew Cray Wanderers, you're really close, and, you know, same sort of name, but different. You know, you took them, not just promotion from the Kent League, the Vars, you know, like you just said, where you were close in, you're in the playoffs at the years you got into the Eastern League, but your FA Cup, you know, you're on TV. You've actually made them now in a community where we are, and Neil knows there are so many football clubs in from Bromley, if you drew to Ebbsfleet, the amount of clubs in that space, and you know, now that you've got players, as you just said, you've had Lisby, Thomas, major people that want to come and play for you.
Yeah, I think there's a valid point that you made earlier about the infrastructure of a club, and I think if you're taking a job, like you've alluded to, and if Smudge takes a job, you need to know and understand the club and what you're signing up for, right? And we're fortunate. We've got lots of very good volunteers, a whole host of them that play a really sort of integral role in the development of the club. Yeah, look, we've played a part, and it's not just me, is it? I've got my management team, and you were speaking about recruitment. Obviously, your management team is your most important recruitment. And Smudge mentioned Mark Hammond, but I've got Kevin James and Tommy Osborne, obviously Courtney that comes on the show, and Craig. But yeah, look, we put the club on a map a little bit for a period of time. The frustrating thing, Wes Smudge has said about Bromley as an area, and people buy into the area. It's difficult with, like, geographically, with where Cray Valley is. Like, even when we had that success of the FA Vars and the FA Cup and things like that, we're still not getting enough people through the gate. So it just becomes a bit of a battle. We've got real focus leading into next season on youth teams and bits and pieces like that, and potentially an academy starting. But everyone's running an academy now, aren't they? There's only so many young lads that can be part of it.
No, it's true. It is true. But like I said, and obviously Neil and Mason say the same, but I've been to 2 clubs in my career, so, you know, and I'm fairly loyal with what I've done, but I've not really gone for too many interviews at jobs, but the odd 1 or 2 I've gone for, that I've had to go for. The one thing I've asked for is not that first thing. Like what you've got, youth, what club you got, what's your ambitions? Because I am quite interested for the reason that the two clubs I've been in, I've had to take players from below and bring them through youngsters. So it's a natural thing. But I've always been interested in, you know, what ambitions you got for your club, what foundations have you actually got. What have you got an academy? No. Are you looking for one? What youth teams you've got? And I don't know. It's me just because I'm an idiot that wants to get involved too much, and someone needs to say to me, "Look, just be a manager and just get on with it." And you know then that's different adapting. Or like I said, I am just an idiot that's mostly a glutton for punishment that will just go and do anything.
No, but I think that's what the whole point of having an academy is for. To try and produce your own players. You know, we had a couple of players that were released from other clubs that have come to us. Jude Arthur was released from Gillingham. You know, didn't think it was good enough. He's coming to us. All of a sudden, we're getting interest from league clubs for him. We've got Liam Vincent, young guy, 17, released from Millwall, coming to us. He played in the league, in our league, made his debut. League clubs are looking for him. And I think it's a great way of developing players. We've also got players that have been with us from junior level into our academy, making their league debuts. And I think it's right for a club, if you're going to have an academy, don't just have it because of everyone's having an academy. Have it because you actually want to develop your own players. You'll get more from them. They'll have that passion for the club. They've been through the club from an early age, and you know what? They've supported you, and they're now playing for the club. Whereas before, I'm looking around and everyone's wearing, you know, Chelsea, Palace, Tottenham shirts. There's Bromley shirts being worn around Bromley now. So all of a sudden, it's a club to be proud of playing for. And there's actually a pathway to playing full-time football. Are some of these bigger clubs, are they giving you a pathway? I don't think they are. We are. We'll give you that pathway. If you're good enough and you want to work hard enough, or say we, I'm not there anymore, but there was a pathway from Bromley's junior section into the academy, 23's first team. And I think there's
a lot of clubs that don't have that path or not interested, are they? As you said, they just want the academy for money. And that's what I was going to say to you, Kev. You know, it is about finances. So if you start your academy, are you going to be part? Are you going to have an impact? Are you going to have an input? Sorry. Are you going to, I don't know, with your own job, it's difficult, some of it, but, you know, is it going to be set up the way that you want it set up?
I only agree with these academies if they offer boys the opportunity to study A-levels. If they're only vocational courses, like fundamentally, I don't agree with it, because students should have that choice. So, as Smudge is saying, like, yes, that progression up into Bromley's first team is aspirational. I don't begrudge the opportunity for kids to play football full time and to get more development. But with all due respect, when you're looking at leagues below with academies, a pathway into, I won't name a club, but a SCEFL Premier Division club, is that really a pathway? Like, what is the calibre of these students? They have trials, right? And everyone gets in because every kid's worth money. And that's the harsh reality of it. I could talk all night about it. It's not a trial, is it, if everyone gets in? When
I set Thamesmead Academies up, Kev. I know exactly what you're on about. Yeah, I know. We were getting the hand-me-downs from Bromley, from that, which is you know, you know that, because if you've got a pathway, who would you look to choose? You know, you look at Dartford, Bromley, local, Ebbsfleet, or then do you look at Thamesmead, Cray Valley? That is just the way, isn't it?
Yeah, look, as long as these kids, as long as people are being honest with them and their parents, then it's absolutely fine for them to make their choices. But when they're selling them a dream that's just not reality, then I think ethically it's wrong.
Yeah, no, we emphasise the education is the reason why they're coming into the academy, and then the football. There's an A level up there. There's the BTEC, whatever level of education you can do, that's your priority. If you make it in football, that's brilliant. If you don't, you've got to have the education that's going to take you further on and obviously help you with your finances and your job aspirations. But we've had players that weren't going to make it, but then one of them become our kit man. I won't say Ted Dennington, his name is. He became our kit man. He just wanted to be involved with a football club in some capacity. He's now the kit man at Crystal Palace. He's texting us pictures of him at Anfield and at White Hart Lane. But without coming to Bromley, and he knew he weren't good enough, but he just wanted to be in football. We've got another lad who now does our football analysis. It can't be all. None of them are all going to be players. We give them a good, education in football. But the education after is the main reason why they're coming on the academy. And if they can come in football in a different way, we've got some that want to be, wants to do S&C, the Q, that wants to do the strength and conditioning. All right, we'll find a pathway for you. It might not be with us, but we'll give you a chance to go and do it. If it's, like Ted, he's now the kit man at Palace. He's in his element. He's in a Premier League club with all these Premier League players. He come as a football player, knew he wasn't good enough, but found a way into being in the football. We never sold him the dream that if you come to us, every one of you is going to make it, because it's not right. We know the statistics tell you it's 1% or even tinier than that. But what we will do, we'll give you the best, so that you leave as a better person, not just a better player as well.
Kev, when I started Thamesmead Academy, we had two sides. One, obviously, kids coming from the areas trying to get in and whatever. But the other side of it, we got asked to set up a side for the basically sort of not underprivileged kids, but also kids that were getting suspended from school, kicked out, like troublesome. I think kids with problems, maybe that's the best way of saying it. So they could, instead of them being on streets, they were coming in and trying to get an MVQ or BTEC or whatever it was, and it was giving them 2 years of not reforming, but tried. And I remember the first 6 weeks, we had the police at the club so many times because they get tracksuits and whatever. 3 of your lads had just been reported shoplifting at the shop. A couple of your lads had just beat someone up at McDonald's. And I'm like, oh my God. And as you said about getting involved, I'm at the club. Gents, what you're doing, we're trying to give you there's a pathway that you can just try and get something for yourself. And to be fair, after the first couple of months, these kids, we did get them. Now, a couple of them weren't bad. Don't get me wrong. 90% were awful. They wouldn't get in a Sunday morning poor, like, McVitie's pub team. But they stuck at it for their 2 years. I think 85% of them passed at a decent. And they listen, they might be going off doing whatever, but you felt you were doing something for them, and it weren't about the finances with that. And that was the only thing that I like doing with that part of it.
But do you think there is clubs out there that just do put academies in just solely for the money, and not actually for the football?
I would say I might be going really high here. 80%. 80% of clubs are doing it financially, and they need it.
I think you have to look at the numbers. Like Smudge said, if you're holistically making a kid a better person and giving them a life chance, and it's different, can you do that with 120 kids when you've maybe got 2 coaches or a couple of people working around them? I just think some of the academies just go for pure volume of numbers. They've got 5 or 6 teams of one age group sort of in an academy plan. Some of those kids never get a chance to play. But the kids are sold the dream and they want to wear a tracksuit and bits and pieces. Look, this is no particular dig at
I think it depends on what level. Like if you're at Smudges, like just say Bromley, I think it's like there's 250 kids they say they've got, and even if they picked one of them that got the chance to play full-time football, that's one that they wouldn't have had and one that they wouldn't have had the chance. So with that, I get, when you come lower down, as you've just said, some of the clubs, I am with you on that. I am 100% with you. But also, I think, and Neil, you'll know this, and Kev and Dean, you're mostly better placed with this. The thing that I don't get, and this is where I think Neil mentioned a little bit about being completely honest, when these kids step into your club, they probably think they're going to be a professional footballer because they've been signed up to one of these academies. And some of them even at pro clubs, aren't the full academy, Dean, are they? I know it's different, but like obviously you know that like Cheltenham and Crystal Palace, at some of the schools, they put them in their tracksuits, but they're not. They're not Cheltenham, they're not Crystal Palace. They're just them playing under their name and their umbrella.
Yeah, you get a lot of development centres, and the kids pay X amount of money to like you say, they give them a tracksuit, but you'll get clubs that are 50 miles away from where their actual club is running development centres. And they sell them. They're gonna get a trial, and you get one kid out of 100 that'll go for a trial, and they make a big thing of it. So yeah, it is out there. And like you say, with all these college programs, there's so many of them now. Where before it used to be a bit more elite, and now, like you say, some college programs they've got 5 or 6 teams. Well, surely the boys in the 5th or 6th team have got no chance of playing for the first team.
Do you think, Neil, and Kevin asked you this question, and we keep going on with the youth for a little while. Do you think, and it mentioned a little bit what you were just saying about finances, Kev, that the youth, the elite youth team has sort of got worse? I can just go back, we can go back to what we call, Dave, down here as our Kent Youth League. When it first started, it was maybe the you had to have senior status at a certain level, and the top lads played at that level on a Sunday. Then all of a sudden the league got greedy, and there was teams coming in, and you had park teams. No disrespect, it got massive. And then the Academy started the same thing. It was like you could say, Neil, the National League. Well, not people in the National League playing the National League Academy, aren't they? And it's got bigger and wide. And do you think that they need to channel that again a little bit more?
I think if you're going to do it, they've got to make it quality. You've got to get the best players playing against the best players, because then that's only going to make them better players in the long run, rather than just playing consistently a lot of games. So we have our academy boys up until lockdown and everything else. They'd come and train with the first team, because, like you just said, when they join the academy, they're like, well, I'm going to play with the first team, and it's only when you get them in and around the first team. And I'll tell you why, because that's what I did when I was a pro, when I was at Tottenham. You go in there and you all of a sudden, the physical side that you didn't know about, how quick it is, you're not getting a lot of time on the ball. It's a shock to them. So there's no point playing against and winning 5 or 6-0 every week. You want every game to be competitive. So it has to have the best playing against the best if you want to get the players better. Otherwise, there's no point. And just making it a big thing, yeah, great. We've got loads more teams, but the quality's got to be there at some stage. It's a bit like the under-23s at the moment. I don't think it's competitive enough, because I think it's just an extension of youth football. Mm. If you're 21 or 22 playing in the 23s, you've missed a boat.
Yeah, great.
In my opinion.
Now you talk about all the college teams. Now everyone's a one-to-one coach as well, aren't they? You see, yeah, they are though, aren't they? That's the new big thing. Is everyone's advertising they're a one-to-one coach? When did that start happening?
Honestly, the growth in what you can do as a coach is amazing, in respect of, there's restart coaches out there.
Yeah.
What's that all about? I thought they were just set plays. There's a corner. Let's work on it. But now there's actually restart coaches. I don't get it. You're a manager or you're a coach. Someone might have an idea, you throw it in, but to have that as your sole job, I think it's brilliant. I think if people are paying for that, then great. But I just genuinely believe.
I'm just writing that down. Restart. I'm going to start looking for jobs in that. It's another thing I can open up.
It's crazy, but yeah, getting back to the youth football, I just think it is a numbers game, and I think that's going from the Premiership all the way down. And I don't think they're learning anything, because, as I say, the 23s, for what it was meant to be, I don't think it is now. I think it just keeps the players at your club longer. It makes them feel they're still part of your club. But as I say, if you're 22, 23, playing for the 23s, it's gone. You've missed it. If you're 18 and you're in there, I get it.
Neil, you've got some players who are playing under 23s football are on more money than some of the players that have played 100 league games, and they've never played a league game.
I honestly, it's mental. It's crazy. Back in the day, and I'm sort of bringing. I was trying to bring the old school back to as a new school. As in, if you're 17 or 18, you go and play with the 23s. I get it. But it's like the old reserves. So we'd put a couple of first team players in there, because I think while you're playing, you're learning. Because the pro that was alongside you is giving you guidance on your positional, rather than the manager shouting at you all the time. Let the players do it. That's how I learned. And I think that's gone out of the game, because the first team players don't train with the 23s and don't give them that little bit of understanding during training sessions.
Well, we've been lucky now at MK Dons when when we've had some friendlies, when we haven't had a midweek game, Russell Martin's actually played in the friendly.
Brilliant.
And what he gives to the younger players and even everyone involved is amazing. Like, not because he is our manager, but he's a lot of the things he does are really, really good.
Yeah.
What's changed?
Sorry,
go on.
Keith, go on. No, I was saying when I was a pro at Tottenham, you played for the reserves, and you might be 17, but I'm playing with Chris Hughton or Terry Fenwick, or the big David Howells in front of you, and they were guiding you along. So you were learning that, I'll stay tight, squeeze over, squeeze up. It was part of the coaching. And then all of a sudden, the 23s, they don't get that because it was too demeaning of the first team to play with the reserves. When did that ever happen?
They use them now. This is what I'm saying. That if you get the 23s or the under 18s in, you're normally getting them in to basically just so you can work on a bit of pattern of play. Or your set plays, as you just said, your restart. But I think all that changed now, and it'd be great to go back if you remember the old Capital League they used to have. Yeah. Down this way. That was proper, football for even teams like Barnet and all that. When they were in the Football League, they put sides in it. It was brilliant.
I call it real football. We all want to do patterns of play, and it's all tippy-tapping. It's all nice. You have it, we have it, you have it. But there's when it's real football, you're playing for someone's. If I'm not in the team, I might not be getting appearance money. So I'm going to have a right go here. And I think that's what they don't realise, and that's what I'm saying. When they come back to when am I going to play in the first team? When you're playing football, proper football, and that's why we sent our young kids off to have a little taste at Lewis, and they come back better for it. Yeah. They come back better for it rather than coming with the 20 or the 18s or the 17s, wherever they were. They went and played men's football, and they come back and went, right, I'm ready. They were just confident in their body. If you take a whack, I'm fine, but I'm confident in it, and they grew with confidence because of that.
Kev, what do you have as a club underneath the first team?
We're extending it next season, but we literally have all the way up from next season, all the way through to the first team. It would be nice to have it on one site, and we just can't sort of facilitate that. We've only got the first team pitch, and then the second pitch. In an ideal world, you'd have something like Grey Wanderers are doing, I imagine, where they can host everything, or if you've got an artificial pitch, obviously that helps as well.
Mm.
Are you having? Have you got? The artificial. You got 23s next year.
Yeah, we're talking about. There's a proposal to put a team into the sort of Scaffold League, which will be a bit of a feeder team, just so they're playing more competitive football on a regular basis.
Yeah, I remember Phoenix done that. They put their side into, was it the Scaffold Div 1? So it was senior football. It was the league below the, what we call the Kent League. And I think, physically wise, it was more beneficial for the youngsters to play in that. Yeah,
we believe so. Whether it gets accepted or not, we're still waiting.
So what we're saying, Dave, their sort of reserves can go and play at step 6, innit?
Yeah.
I think didn't Colchester do that with Malden and Tiptree?
They linked up a little bit. Yeah, it was a bit. Whereas the manager now has got the job and good manager.
So, so I think it's already been done.
So we're looking at it. I would say probably in the next, 2 or 3 weeks, a big job may well come up in the England under 21. Do you fancy that, Neil? I think he's frozen again.
I think he's pointing that I can have it, Dave.
Evening, lads.
Evening, Mickey.
Hi, Mickey.
How are we, all right?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I don't know about the rest of them that are sitting here. I feel really old now when you see this young man just appear on the screen. Cheers. I suppose one of the questions while we're waiting for Neil to unfreeze himself again, for you, Mickey, the weekend, that water you're just drinking there, is that sort of still trying to get over the weekend?
Yeah, a little bit, mate. To be fair to you, everyone sort of, the messages were flying in once we got back into the change room. But, the coach journey home wasn't sort of as wild as what the Darlington one was. I think the boys were just just more in shock than anything. We all just sort of sat there and spoke at times. Yeah, we were singing at times, but then it settled down again. And there was a few beers, but it wasn't, as I said, I think people were just in shock, mate. It was, even now, I mean, it's incredible, mate. What an achievement. What an achievement.
When you're going to watch England play on Wednesday, are you
Yes,
sitting there
mate.
thinking, that's us?
Yeah,
well, not us as England, but that's where we're going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even obviously watching the game last week with still the anticipation of not knowing whether we'd win or not on Saturday, it just still didn't feel real. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take. It might not even kick in until the day that we're travelling there and we see the arch. But yeah, just an incredible feeling, mate. Incredible.
Well, you've got two managers here that obviously have both been to Wembley. One in the trophy, one of it. Gents, you got any advice for Mick as he's getting ready?
Go on, Smudge. Are you still frozen?
I think you might have frozen.
So.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's worth spoiling it for you. Just make a day of it and enjoy it, really. I don't think anything can prepare you for it. Like you say, driving up to the arch, that may be going the colour of your team, players' names going up on the board, bits and pieces like that, the changing rooms. We had an opportunity to visit beforehand.
Okay.
Visit some of the players chose to do so, others didn't. But yeah, look, it's an incredible experience. But once you get on,
you can even take your own DJ, Mick. I said they can even take their own DJ, can't they?
Yeah, that weren't my idea. But yeah, look, it's fantastic, great achievement, guys.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Tony, just so you know, Tony, you're on your side, mate. You need to turn your camera around. You look like you're going to there you go. There we go.
I'm still doing cartwheels. So I looked at your obviously your social media of the changing room, and we've talked about that's one thing. Obviously, you know, when you're out of a job that you miss, when you see things like that. And I know, you know, you could go back into the Marine, but especially when you know the team and the people in there, it's just something that what is great about social media and technology nowadays, but it's just something that you'll never forget.
You'll never.
Here he is. Here he is.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Now you never forget that. Funny enough, I had a conversation with Glenn Paul today, and he said the same. He said, look, after watching what I see on social media, I didn't realise how much I miss being around football. You know, so.
Tony, talking about Glenn Paul, he sent me this message today, and he said he wanted me to pass this on to yourself and Stimo. He said, I spoke to Tony this afternoon. What a legend he is. He's looking forward to the show. Make sure you tell him how highly I rate him and hold him in. And Stimo in high regards. I hope you're well, mate. And you'll have to catch up soon. I mean, that was to me. But, I mean, literally, he's saying that he holds yourself and Stimo in really high regards and wishes you all the very best.
Great man. Great player. In football, as you know, you meet plenty of friends. You meet some good people. And I'm lucky enough, I've met quite a few. But Glenn, I had a bit of a special. We had good battle between us. He was a great player. Yeah, great coach. Everything about him. That's all I can say. The man is just Mr. Football. Got a lot.
Talk us through the whole day. I mean, get leaving, and I saw pictures of the coach leaving. I mean, talk us through that, because that must have been a bit of a daunting thing for both of you. You know, going up there and going into, let's be honest, you know, they're not at the moment, but a football league ground, really. You know, and you're travelling up there. Kevin said the same thing earlier on, that it was a fantastic stadium. I mean, talk us through that whole journey up there, and what was the thought of the team, etc.
Well, I've been lucky, you know. I've travelled. I've been to a few, you know, decent stadiums in the past. with Stimo. You know, I'm very, very lucky because I've been with Stimo now nearly 20 years. So I've had the luxury of going to quite a few of these grounds. But the day was just that. From the day we got on the coach, it was ridiculous. It was quite surreal, really. I don't drink a lot and I'm very quiet, very relaxed. I don't. It was just. Yeah. I slept most of the way there. You know, I was concentrating on the game. No, it was a great atmosphere. What gave me the biggest pleasure was watching the excitement of the boys, because I knew it's exciting for me as a part of the coaching staff, but to be the player, I could see the excitement in them. So that was a big buzz, you know, just the concentration levels, the banter with the boys. It was amazing, you know. In the evening, we had table tennis competitions, we had dart competitions. Everything was perfect, you know. I won everything. I won a table. I did. I was terrible. I lost everything. In fact, I pulled a hammy.
So, Luke, tell us, obviously, you know, you've joined us and you missed the congratulations from everyone. But, you know, and I've seen you take them, you know, you've been around and you've played. Yeah, no, they're always early, the other two. Just, obviously, you got yourself on the score sheet. So talk us through it and how that felt.
Did they give it to him? Did they?
I'm claiming it. I'm going to claim it all day long. I've opened the newspaper this morning and still see my name in it at 38 minutes. So I'm going to take that all day.
You know,
to be fair, conversations with Tone, me and Mickey had many conversations over the weekend. It was a strange one. I didn't think personally that I had the performance that I would have liked to have on the day. But when I spoke with Tony as well, and as a captain and trying to be the leader I am, it's about how you can motivate people around you to get the best out of them to help you through a game. The goal, if you've seen it, I think one of the boys, Matty, said to me, I think the keeper was going for the multi-ball because it was going out for a throw-in. Gone in. But the camera angles done me wonders. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to claim that all day long. To get that at 1-1, when, to be fair, that first 10 minutes, I was in the game thinking, oh, this is going to be a long day. Going to be a very long day. Notts County were, their two midfielders wanted the ball all the time. Our game plan was to try and lock down on them as best we can, or as best we could. And even then, they was getting the ball and we was around them. But they were just keeping the game ticking over. It was tough, but this group of boys and this squad, we never know when to give in. And I think just by seeing all the previous rounds, even before this one on Saturday, you could see that from the results. I looked back at something myself. A lot of teams have questioned whether we'd be fit enough because of not playing since the 3rd of November. And if you look at when we've scored our goals in games, I think that speaks volumes, and that can only come from coaching staff, Tony, Tim, Jamie and Gaffer, as well as a few others that have kind of set up these sessions. And we've had pre-season for about 5 months, it feels like.
So what was that feeling? I mean, I spoke to Tony on the phone earlier on, and he said his sort of side of it, but what was that feeling? You know, you're losing the game. What was it, 3-2, and then Liam sort of, you know, not one in on 90 minutes. I mean, that must have been incredible. You know, because we didn't know. People actually sort of following it on Twitter like I was. It was people saying it's going to extra time. Some people saying it's going to penalties, and I don't know, anybody was so excited. Everybody was getting all the stories and that sort of muddled up. But what was it like there? You know, losing 3-2 and then, you know, getting that goal right at the end.
I think for me,
go on, Mick, go on.
personally, sorry, Tone. What happened after we equalised to being on the coach after, that was a bit of a blur for me, because when Nashi got that touch and stuck it in, it was just, I just felt like I knew then that was it. It was written in the stars. And I think even when they scored in the 81st, 82nd minute, I think for a split second there was that bit of doubt. But even after that, it was just, everything that we've done leading up to Saturday's game, how hard the boys have worked, and every training session, every game, every round, there was still that, no, there's one more chance in the game, and luckily it came, and we're now sitting here with a final at Wembley.
So when Nashi scored, obviously, you know, you two on the tap side, the first thing obviously you're doing, it's the biggest celebration ever. It's an equaliser, isn't it? And you've rescued it from the death. When Dicko got the winning penalty, and I see, what was he, you two? Oh no, here we go again. Such a long run, wasn't it, over the corner?
Dicko wanted the 5th penalty, and I was thinking, why is he going 5th? We might not get that far. I'm sure you all know Dicko and what he's about. He's got nerves. To be fair, he had nerves of steel. He probably was. Yeah. He probably was inside feeling it. But I've watched that penalty back so many times. I've even called Dicko to just say, you know what, for all the times he's got on my nerves with himself and how he is, it would only be him that could step up and do that. I think
the penalty was unbelievable. I didn't watch the penalty. I was facing the other way, and I watched it back for the first time on the coach, and I turned around to him. I said, Dicko, I can't believe you had the nerve to stick it in the top bins like that, like with that pressure. But fair play to him, mate. It's different, yeah.
Neil's battery's running out, so he's gonna be leaving us in a sec. So we do thank Neil and for coming on tonight. We wish you all the very best for the future, mate, and hope you're back in the game very, very quickly.
Thank you so much, guys, and you know, I really appreciate it. I've loved every minute of it, and guys, good luck at Wembley. Hope you do it.
Cheers,
hope you do yourself proud. No worries.
Good
Honestly,
luck.
Congratulations.
Thanks,
Thank you, mate.
Good luck, Neil.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So, Tony, tell us a little bit about what you said to me on the phone about looking over at the other bench, because tell us that story, because that was quite funny.
I've been in that situation before, in the opposite situation where you're winning and there's a minute to go, and the happiness on your face and for the anticipation of this is going to be a long minute, but you can see you got the smile, you're looking at your coaches and your subs and your thumbs up. So I've been there. So I wanted to look at their face because I had belief. I really had belief these boys had in them. They did. I just knew we just needed that one chance. So I kept an eye on the opposite coaches. And when we got that equaliser, all I wanted to do was just see their faces, because it must have been so painful, but so enjoyable. It was a horrible feeling, because I knew that was the most, when you see someone just sink like that, when you know that you're so close, and then suddenly, and then all you see is someone like me running past you going, yeah. That don't help. He did say in his interview, their bench a little bit lively.
Oh dear. So look, obviously,
when you guys got back at the dressing room and so forth from there, I mean, what was you expecting from the other semi-final itself? Was you expecting to hear that you know that you'd be playing Woking in the final, or was you sort of like pleasantly surprised, or surprised that, you know, when you get to the final now on the 22nd, you've got Hereford instead?
To be fair, I was not interested who was there.
No, I don't think we didn't know, did we? We didn't know. One even asked who we were playing.
Who were even playing?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, who's come through till quite late on, if I'm honest, who were there. It was kind of all the emotion of wanting all the boys back in the changing room, because I think you had some of the young boys going and taking selfies on the pitch, and Tony Gay was probably looking for a photographer to do an interview. Everyone was all over the place for a little bit, it felt like. But I remember being on the FaceTime to some of my family and things like that. I was in bits. I can't lie, I was in bits. I've never felt that way over football before. But I think when you've played for as long as I have in the game, and it's like I felt like I've got to the point where I've wanted to achieve without knowing that, you know. It was a surreal feeling to be in, probably me and Mickey spoke on the coach on Friday about what the game might look like. Would you take pens? That was one of Mickey's questions, funny enough. I was all for it, knowing what Wright had done in previous rounds, knowing the boys are confident in stepping up. But it's just like, coming off and reflecting now, I felt like it was all written. The script was all written. We are a never say never team. And again, Nashi pops up. I won't even tell you what Nashi said at Tunbridge away, but he pops up and does what he says on the tin.
But on the actual day, did you all travel up? So I saw the coach leaving, but didn't see where it was leaving from. So did you actually go up there on the day, or did you go up there the night before?
On the Friday night.
On the Friday night.
Friday afternoon, we had to be COVID tested first. We had to wait for our COVID tests, and then that was our second test. And then when that was passed,
I think well, me personally, I think I was more nervous about that result coming back than when I was stepping out on the pitch at Notts, to be fair, because that was like, could you imagine if you'd have come back positive and do you know what I mean? It would have just taken everything away from it. But yeah, luckily we was all negative, and we went up on the Friday, stayed overnight. Like Tony said, we played a bit of darts, a bit of table tennis, and then obviously Saturday left from there to go to the ground.
So what do you do now then, sort of building up to the final? Right? What's the plans for yourself as a side? Tony,
that's you.
That's
You've had a few combos about how many more running sessions we've got.
You've got to do extra training to get up them steps at Wembley.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm used to them. They got to stand after me and Stimo. No, no, Stimo knows what he's doing with the training. Obviously, he'll call us in Thursday, and then on Thursday he'll let us know his plans. But at the moment, he wants the boys to obviously now listen, just enjoy. Then on Thursday we'll get together, and then we go from there. But this is the time. There'll be a few boys now who've still got a hangover. I know we've got a few players who still. They will. There's a few players who still have a hangover, and staff.
What was Stimo's reaction though? I mean, afterwards, once he could sort of reflect, have you spoken to him sort of yesterday or today? I mean, what's his reflections on it there?
I speak to Stimo every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. To him, he takes it in his stride. He does. He's an amazing man like that. It's a massive thing. This is like his 5th time, but as a winner, fifth time. He takes it. He's excited, but at the same time, he's very level. He likes to be very, very, very professional. But at the same time, the boys can also see the other side of him when he's happy, when we're celebrating. He celebrated just as much as it meant as much to him as any time he's ever been to Wembley or whatever you want. You could see he was loving it, But I think he was loving it purely for the achievement of the boys. What he achieved there with his COVID, how he's managed to get a squad to keep them together. It's been very hard to keep them together because obviously you've got other sides who wanted them to double, dual signing. So he just does an unbelievable job. He's very, very calm in the 90 minutes. But on the coach, he was no different to any of the youngsters who were just having a great time. Yeah.
We were saying, Jen, before you come on, and again, hypothetically, and if Lou will ask you this, obviously, if the season would have carried on, league season, you're not just a team that's lucky to get through these cup games. And I think Tony knows what I'm going to say, and people are saying, Worthing would have won it, or Cray, or whatever. Where do you think you would have finished?
In the league, I think we would have been thereabouts. Like you say, Cray, Worthing, great brand football, good teams. But we've always been good up against those strong teams. I look back at Cray last year, probably could have won the game at Cray. I think it ended up a draw. One at Worthing. Obviously, it's a new season. We only played X amount of games this year. But I fancy us against big opposition. In our league, that is those teams that you've just mentioned. But like I mentioned earlier last week, a season's about 40-odd games. You know, it's not just about those 2 games against the teams that are pushing for the league. And it's about turning up when things aren't going so well and you're away to, no disrespect to clubs like your Casuals. There's teams that you turn up to and they want to turn you over. And you have to get yourself going for those games, you know. I'd like to think we'd have been in that top 3. Like to think even after we had a bit of a slow start, we would have definitely been there and pushing towards the end of the season, especially with credit to the gaffer, the additions he made. We had a bit of a transition period. He brought in some new faces. What signings they've turned out to be for us. They are the signings that have ultimately got us going in this run as well. You know, we turned a new leaf and kicked on. Season was curtailed. And luckily, those boys bought into everything that we were already about as a group and just took us up a notch. Alongside Higo, who was missing from the start of the season after the first game. He was like a new signing once this cup competition kicked off for us.
Well, do you think though with the COVID situation and then of course with sort of like the season being sort of stopped, do you think that may have helped you a little bit as well? So, you know, in that way we're not absolutely shattered with the amount of Isthmian games that you've got to play and then going into the cup games. It's taken that a little bit. I know it's probably the opposite way around where you're not playing games now and it's the other way around, but you're a lot fresher as a squad going into these games.
For me, it's that classic one when you lose a cup game. Oh, we can concentrate on the league now. So it's like you go into the cup game, you always want to win a cup game. But when you do go out, it's, let's focus on the league. Where this time round, because of the situation, we've just had a cup game and you don't win, you ain't got another game of football. Yeah. You look back at other clubs at our level, they've not had a game since November the 3rd, unless they had their FA trophy in early December, you know. And our season now is going to go on longer than it would have if the season had taken place. We won't be finishing till the end of May because we're going to a very special place to play a game of football.
Where we go?
I can't say it because you told me it's a fine.
So will you be going to watch the trophy final before yours?
No.
Well, I think they said originally that there weren't going to be any fans at that game, but then I think I saw something today online that they spoke about the FA Cup semi-finals having fans. So I think that needs to be re-looked at. I mean, funnily enough, one of my pals, Danny Green, is at Concord now, and he said that a lot of the boys that got them to where they aren't there anymore, unfortunately. But I mean, for the clubs alone and the fans of those clubs, they should definitely be allowed to be there if there's going to be games with fans there beforehand. I mean, obviously that's something that maybe the FA need to look at, but I think in terms of going there before, I think we'll probably wait until it's our day.
I mean, Mickey, you said you were more nervous about the COVID test coming back than the actual game itself. Well, how nervous are you going to be if you've got to go through that whole rigmarole before the final?
Well, I know, mate. I know. Yeah, it's a tough one, especially
for weeks.
Yeah, that's it. It is a tough one.
You're lucky when you're old to get the vaccine.
Well, be pushing for it now, eh?
Yes, good idea. So I'll ask all three of you this, and you can give us your answer. What are you each individually looking forward to the most on the day?
Go on, Tone.
Oh, the most. My friends and my family seeing me walk out of Wembley. I was unfortunate in 2004, 2005. And then 2 seasons when we got to the trophy final, one was played at Villa Park and the other was played at Upton Park. So everyone dreams about walking out of Wembley, and I know that my family will be there, my friends. So walking out of Wembley will be the biggest thing for me. Oh God! How many times I say Wembley then? Jesus.
Some of you two owe me, didn't you? You owe me, you owe me, you two. So, Nick, what about you?
Yeah, do you know what? I think Tone's hit the nail on the head. I mean, when you're obviously a kid and you're playing in the playground or over the park with your mates, you throw a couple of jumpers down, and the first game you shout is Wembley. So yeah, I think just walking out in a team, hopefully, obviously, providing one we get picked, one we're available to play. But yeah, like Tone said, having my mum, my dad, my brother, being able for them to have that feeling of seeing their son and their brother walking out of Wembley, I'm sure that'll be a massive honour and a proud moment for them. All the miles and years they put into helping me get to this sort of moment. So yeah, I agree with Tone. I think that's what will mean the most, definitely. And then whatever happens in the game happens, and hopefully we'll be walking up the steps like you said earlier, and lifting the trophy.
Luke?
Yeah, there's a few for me. I'll have to pick one, obviously. I hope that family can be allowed in the ground. Obviously, we don't know what tomorrow presents in terms of what's going on with this virus, but providing it follows that route map out and we can have fans, brilliant. But for me, it's going to be, like Mickey said, being fit, being available, being selected, leading this group of men out onto that pitch. That will be massive, because in years to come, I'll be able to look back at photos and have that memory with these boys, and only these boys will understand that kind of memory, that feeling that brings. And I think that's a massive thing for me.
I'm surprised. Well, not surprised, I suppose, because I suppose one of the other things, if I was sort of in you guys' shoes, I think I'd be getting that program would be one of the first things I'd be looking forward to doing. The program, seeing yourself in that sort of cup final program, and then going out on that pitch when you're doing the warm up, and they put up your face and you on the big screen at Wembley. I think that would be something else. But for me, and I'll ask the question to Tony probably more than the and that's sort of the way I'm going to describe this, Tony. But other than the younger lads, would it have been better for you if you was walking out of Wembley in the old Wembley than the new Wembley, where you've got that longer walk, if you know what I mean, where you've actually got that? I don't know. I've said it loads of times to different other people. The old Wembley seems to have that bigger grandeur than the new one.
Yeah, my legs wouldn't do the old Wembley.
I was going to say, your knees would not cope with that.
There is no way with my knees. I wouldn't. I'd have to be piggybacked up there, because obviously my knees start aching by the time I get up in the morning to the time I get to bed. So walking up them stairs, I don't think so.
So Kevin, what was it like walking out Wembley? I mean, you've done it.
Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. Yeah, do you know what? All the things that the boys assume, but ultimately you're there to do a job, right? You're not there to watch a game, you've got to perform. So I was fully focused on making sure that the players were sort of psychologically up for the game, knew their jobs, bits and pieces like that. I know it's a cliche, but once you get onto the pitch and the game starts, you just get lost with it, really, don't you? Just start playing the game. Yeah, look, incredible achievement. I don't want to talk about it too much because you'll have your own experiences. But like Lewis says, I think if you achieve something like that with a group of people, the extended people to do with the club, management, players, then you hold that bond forever, really.
Yeah.
And the comment about the old Wembley and the new Wembley, like, surely the new one's better, because obviously when people's kids grow up and things like that, it'll probably still be standing, won't it? So it's an iconic sort of place for them to be able to see. I just hope your families can be there. Like, we were fortunate that that ours was, and that was obviously special. But if they're not, it doesn't take away from your achievements. Really, it truly is incredible, and best of luck on the day.
Kev, can I ask you, and I'll ask it the nicest way, did you get any souvenirs or take any souvenirs from Wembley? Like, did you nick anything?
No, I've got a box somewhere in the house with some bits and pieces in. Obviously, you'll do the same. You'll have a bespoke kit probably that you can take, little bits and pieces like that. Get those for the family, like you say, the programme. I wasn't too aware of the pictures coming up on the screen of the players and bits and pieces like that, but their families were able to get photos of their... Do you know what was really difficult, though? Getting a copy of the game afterwards, because people were recording it on their skyboxes, but obviously couldn't keep it forever. And because of the TV rights, they wouldn't send us a copy of the game.
Shocking.
I've got one. I won't tell you how I've got one, but yeah, it was really difficult that they wouldn't do that. But yeah, look, just enjoy the occasion. Try and bring it in, but just be focused that you don't want to have any regrets that you're just there to be at Wembley and not to play the game. So go and focus on the result, and then you've got a clear conscience.
That's what for me today. I spoke to the boys and I just said, we've had that weekend. The weekend, you're not going to replace that feeling. The only way you can go and do that now is by winning at Wembley. We're at Wembley. So how do you make it one better? You go and win at Wembley, you know, and that's what we've got to do as a group. And I know for sure the gaffer will make sure we're setting that in terms of our focus has to alter now, because all along, as you're getting closer to that, you could get in the final. That's what you're thinking about. But now we're in the final. We want to be winners. I don't want to turn around and say, oh, I lost at Wembley. I want to say I won at Wembley.
Yeah, definitely.
I tell you what, Lou, my last question I thought was brilliant, but who's the fine man that's adding up all these fines tonight?
So hopefully a few of the boys have watched it back. I see a few parents on here. I definitely saw that earlier on. So hopefully he's taken a tally chart of how many times I've said it, you know.
Listen, the most
poisonous, good key in a minute, though. It is a very good key.
Poisonous, the most toxic group of boys I have met in my life. Seriously, they're very bad. It's going to cost me a fortune. I'm on a pension and they would take it off me.
Look, I mean, I suppose on a funny side, I suppose it's going to be quite interesting to see if your opponents bring the ball with them.
Sorry?
It's going to be quite funny to see if your opponents on the 22nd bring the ball with them.
Oh, don't.
I've seen something on there today about that they're trying to do it, but whether or not Wembley are going to allow them to do it or not, of course, is another thing altogether.
Nah.
I tell you what, if they did, I'd nick it. I'll have a trader outside waiting. I think I would. Oh, it'd be hilarious.
No.
Well,
oh dear.
I've just before we go, I've literally had a text. I won't say from who, but on our Friday show, one of the young ladies that does the Friday show with me has got this thing about a certain footballer, about every time his name is mentioned, she goes absolutely spare, being Irish. And someone's just texted me, are you trying to get your own back by having Thierry Henry on the show tonight? And someone's just told me that Louis, you look at a spitting image of Thierry Henry.
Oh, imagine if you play like him, though.
You're as quick as him, Lou, aren't you?
What's that?
You're as quick as him.
Oh, you've seen me fly down the way.
Has he played at the new Wembley, Lou?
Wembley. Oh, to be fair, Keith, that didn't stop you from trying to sign me, did it, Keith?
It didn't, mate. 100%.
Love it.
Still wouldn't there. You made the right choice.
Everything pans out for a reason, mate. Everything pans out for a reason, isn't it? And that's what it's about.
Well, listen, guys.
Look, we wish you the best. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I was going to say, listen, all the best. All the best. You know, I think you're going to have everyone in sort of this end of non-league the country all supporting you, and there's some great people, obviously behind the scenes, you know, as well at Hornchurch, not just the management, that are going to enjoy their day and deserve it as well.
No, absolutely.
We
do wish you guys all the very, very best, and please pass our congratulations on to Stimo and the rest of the boys as well. And we do wish you all the best, and hopefully you guys all, you know, can come back on the show on the Monday after the final.
We don't do these shows. We're ITV with big time.
you can show us the trophy. Yeah. But listen, guys,
look after Ruffy when you get there as well.
Oh, Ruffy.
Yeah, gonna have to, mate. What a
yeah, mate, desperately.
But listen, guys, we thank you so much for coming on tonight. I do wish you all the very best for the final.
Cheers, chaps.
Keep well, keep safe as well, so that you get your chance of selection on the day. Massive thank you as well to Kevin for being on tonight, and of course for Dean and for Smudge as well, who's had to leave us early. And of course, massive thank you to Emma to keep being on the show. Me and Keith will be back next week, and I've had it confirmed just as we've been in the show tonight that we have got Tajan from the Kick It Out campaign will join me and Keith next week with a couple of guests as well. So join us for that. I'll be back on Friday with the girls, but until next week, see you later. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Good luck, fellas.
See you later.
All the best.